Hey guys, welcome to March Creative Soul bracelet design. This bracelet it's cute. It's a little thistle pattern that uses all the colors in your kit in a new and unique way that's kind of got a retro vibe. I feel like it's got this kind of like just indie rock going on that and it's really cute when you wear it. Lots of different possibilities for how you can modify it to make it different lengths and things like that. So I was going to show you in this video how to do it. You will need the beads from your March Creative Soul, which includes 5 colors of 11 check seed beads. There is also a pattern that shows you how to lay them out, but in general, here's the colors. I've got them in some little jars, but wow, look at those two. That's like a mint green with this like saffron gold. And then you've got this cool root beer, a beautiful copper, which just looks like a flower, and olive for that retro vibe. So let's get started with creating. You'll also have a little button in your kit, and you will have a spool of 1G thread in green. And then your other little check beads, hang on to those. We're going to do some additional projects like an earring project that we can pull those in. Always fun to have those little extras. But let's dive into our project. All right, so let's get started with warping our jewel loom. First, you're going to need the loom, and then you'll need the bar that comes with your loom. You'll want to insert that bar into the first notch, and then you'll want to gently insert the second notch. And so to do that, just want to flex a little bit the loom, and then you'll get this little smile shape. And I'm going to raise up my camera just a little bit so you can get a little better view there of the full loom. And now we're going to put the warp threads on it. So your March Creative Soul pattern is worked with 8 beads. And so the 8 bead configuration will require 9 warp threads so that you have a thread on every side of your bead. Start by tying a double knot onto one of the buttons. So there's the first part of my double knot. And here's the second half. I'm just going to pull that through. And there you go. You can even do one more if you like, just to make sure that knot is extra tight. And then working directly from the spool, you're going to want to pull your thread back behind the button at the back of your loom. And then bring it up through one of the coils on the loom. So here's the front side. And then just follow that down to a roughly corresponding coil on the bottom. It doesn't have to be directly across, just kind of eyeball it and get it to look, like it's making a direct path that way. Fold around the back and bring it through a coil. So we're going to do this a total of 9 times. There's number 2. Here's number 3. And 4. There we go. Here's number 5. There's number 6. And here's 7. Eight, almost done. And then here's number 9. All right, so we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 threads on the loom. I'm going to make one more trip around the button here at the back. And then I'm going to loop my thread around this coil a few times, this button. And then I'm going to want to trim that from the spool, leaving enough strand here that I can tie a knot. Oops. Sorry about that. Okay. So I've trimmed it free from the spool. And what I'm going to try to do now is tie this knot here. I like to just kind of use my thumb to hold this loop in place so that I can go around and up and through the loop. And then just pull that tightly and repeat that maybe twice more. There's one more. And there we go. So a nice tight knot there. And so we've got our 9 warps on the loom. I just need to pop the bar from the loom. So just gently press up. It might launch, like mine always launches. I don't know why. But once you've got that done, then we're ready to start the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and get my beads ready. We're going to turn our mat so that I can be working with the side. I'm right-handed. So I know a lot of you guys, if you're left-handed, you may prefer to have your loom on the side and your beads over here. And you might be looming in that direction. So that is totally great. If that's how you're going to set up, just go ahead and set it up with left to right or right to left. For me, I'm going to be working with it on the right side. And let's get our beads lined up in order of how they appear on the legend. So our first color is going to be this beautiful saffron yellow. And I put these in little jars, guys. Yours will be in these little baggies, but I got one of those little, actually it's a sorter for art dots. And it came with all these little containers. And that's what I used to put all of my beads into order. The second color you're going to want to lay out is your copper. And this copper is a really pretty light copper color. And then we're going to be using olive green. This is almost like a golden olive. And I'm just going to push these up a little higher here on my mat. And then there's this gorgeous transparent root beer. It's like a shiny, shiny brown. And then last but not least, our mint green. A beautiful spring color that is. Look at that. All right. And let's head back over to our spool and unspool a wingspan. And then I'm going to grab my beading needle and thread the needle here. There we go. It should pass right through. So just folding over a little bit, bring your needle underneath your warp threads. So let's get down a little lower here. And I didn't cut free from the spool yet. I just kind of left it hanging here. But normally I do, but I've just got it sitting here. And I'm going to work so your pattern, it depends how you like to loom. You can loom from the bottom to the top, which is what I'm going to do, or you can work from the top to the bottom. And in my case, I'm starting at the bottom, which is the side closest to me, but that's really completely up to you. You can actually go with either. But in this case, I'm going to just go ahead and pick up 8 color E since I am starting with the bottom. All right, so 8 of these color E beads. And I'm bringing those underneath. And just for this first row, I really like doing a stabilizing way to start is to just bring the needle back through temporarily so that I can bring all of those beads underneath my warp threads. And it makes it just a little easier to get them going. Take the needle out and then bring your needle back through all those beads, making absolutely sure to stay over the warp threads. So you're passing through the bead but staying over these. And I use the eye side of my needle so that I won't puncture those threads because I'm going to pull them through later. And they'll slide easily as long as you haven't punctured anything. And that's going to be essential for my weaving in method. So they're moving the tail out of the way. Let's continue and let's work a few rows together, and then we'll do a jump ahead. But so here's my row number 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I thought this was going to be a cool, like kind of stripy retro flower pattern. A really neat style. And we don't need to do the needle help assist for this second row. It should just pop right in place. And again, just bring that needle right back through all those beads, passing over those warps. And there you go. And you can see they're still really moving. Everything going really well there. Pass underneath. And there we go. It's kind of easy to lose your needle as you're working. There we go. Okay, number C is the next one. Got that. And we'll just go ahead and go back through. And these first few rows, notice how mine kind of moved a little bit on the warps. That's okay. They're going to do that for those first few rows. They'll start to stabilize after you get about 5 or 6 rows on. But I kind of like that because it gets me warmed up with not hitting those warp threads. And here's number 4 for row number 4. And there's 8 beads there. I like this pattern because it starts right off using all of the beautiful colors. Nice and easy pattern too. It sounds like a little guitar. All right, last but not least is color A. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we'll slide those down. So you get to see all of the colors in action just right out the gate. It's really fun. So pretty. All right, so the pattern carries on from here, introducing a little floral, and the little floral is super cute, kind of like a little thistle pattern. And I'm going to go ahead and carry on just like I've been doing here. And I probably will need to add thread at some point, and so I'll stop the camera at that spot and show you adding thread. All right, so I got about halfway through my pattern before my thread started to run short. So to show you how much I've got left, it's about 10 inches or so. I'm going to take the needle off of the strand that is running short and just let it hang. And then I will need to get my spool. I'm just trimming the tail here free. And let's start another wingspan, which is about how much that was. Got me pretty far. And we'll go ahead and same way we started the last one. You'll just want to bring your needle onto your thread. Fold over enough that makes a manageable length. Bring your needle underneath the warps, so underneath them. And again, working with about a wingspan. Pick up the next row in your pattern, which for me is a all color E. Okay. And just slide that down so it's ready. Same thing, you're going to want to bring your needle back through those beads to stabilize them while we put them in position on the loom. And then I'm going to go back through those beads, staying above my warp threads. So that's the same process we use to get started. And it's the same way to add thread. So what you'll have here is you'll have the remainder of the old working thread, and then you'll have the tail thread for the new working strand you just added. And all of that's going to be a little bit in the way, but if you just kind of push it down toward the bottom of your loom. Sometimes if I've got a lot of these going, if I'm working on like a really wide piece, and so you end up with quite a few adds like that, you can take the extra strands, of the tails like that and just bring them around the back of your loom. You can even washi tape them to the back of the loom to get them out of your way. But it definitely helps as you work along. And so I was going to show one more thing really quick. I am halfway through the pattern. And so I can estimate for you how much thread to cut, how much thread you'll need. My first wingspan was 67 or so inches, and the second one is about the same. So that in total is going to get you through the whole pattern. All right, so let's go ahead and finish it up, and then we'll take it off the loom. All right, so I finished the whole pattern, and it's so cool. I love the retro vibe. It's just got such a cool little vibe to it. So I'm going to measure it for you just to give you an idea of how long this pattern is and how you can customize it to be the length that you would like. So currently, if you just do the 4 repeats, you're going to get a pre-clasp length of 6.5. And so when we put the clasp on it, the button clasp, it's going to add an inch at least. I'm going to measure it precisely once I've got it finished, but in my mind, it's about an inch. And so 6.5, that's going to put us out at 7.5. And so that's, a pretty average length and pretty good for a bracelet. But of course, if you wanted to make it a longer, you could repeat one of these little sections and you would have a pretty good length for your bracelet. So you can always just repeat your favorite one or just go back to the first one and repeat it on the other side, and it would look really symmetrical. Placing this one in kind of the center, it would also look really good. And I forgot to mention also that repeating one section, so that is one of the flower sections, including its stripes, gives you an 1.5 inches. So if you would like for it to be increased by less than that, maybe just repeat the stripe section, which will give you a little under 0.5 inch for every time you repeat the little repeat of 5 stripes. And so that if that helps anyone deciding their length, then hopefully that is good. And then also you can the adjustable button loop option is also available. So, but let's go ahead and take this off the loom really quick. So what I've been doing here off camera is just cleaning up my beads really quick. So I'm just getting all of them back in the jars just so they won't be in our way when we do this next step. All right, so let's flip over the loom, and the one spot we're going to trim is going to be just here on the side buttons where we had the knots. We're going to want to trim free these spots right here. So you just leave the little knotted part, and there'll be 2 places where you're going to want to do that. There, and then at the beginning, which actually could have been the end, not sure. And so you'll have those edges free. And everything else is still going to be pretty much in place on your loom around those buttons, but these 2 edge warps are going to be free now. This one on this side, and I believe also this one right here. So to get the rest of the warps off of the button, what I usually like to do is just grab some chain nose pliers and Here's some square nose actually, but it doesn't matter. And I'm just going to help these come off of the back of the button here. So just like that. And you might need to just kind of press this side against you a little bit to stabilize it while you do that. The other side should fall free. And now you can set aside your loom for your next project. And let's flatten out our piece. So it's going to look a little bit wobbly. They always are kind of like that when they first come off the loom. And so what I like to do is just roll in my fingers. So I'll start in the center and just roll them out. As you get to the edge, they will roll out fast. So but you can just push them back. There we go. That side looks really nice. And this side just needs a little bit more. And then just help those go back. All right, how does everything look? Just lay the piece flat because after we do the next step, it won't be adjustable anymore. So just make sure you're happy with how it rolls out. And then also grab your tape measure. You'll know you've got it back to the amount of flatness it had on the loom if you're still getting your 6.5 measurement there. Or it should be, it could be longer. It could be the, so I think that added 7.5. If we increased it by 1, you'll have an extra 1.5 inches or so. So right about there. Bring it out to about 8 inches, I think. So somewhere between there you should have. And now we're going to go ahead and just pull the warps in. I like doing this method because it's quick, but you can always use the weaving in method that I'm going to show you right after this to weave them all in, if that's easier for you. But turn your piece so that it is facing this direction. Make sure top and bottom that all your loops are free. They're not, looped through each other, right? And then separate out your weft strands, which are the ones here that are exiting the beads, running on the side. You'll have 4 of them if you added thread once like I did. So again, here at the top, you'll have these loops free, including your edge warp strand. And then here at the bottom, you're going to have these loops. All right. And so I'm going to start here at the top, and I'm going to pull this single warp strand first. So I'm using my chain nose pliers just to get a grip on it, and then holding the whole piece with my hand while I pull. And then down here at the bottom of the piece, do you see this loop coming up? That's what's happening as I pull the top loop. Sorry, pull the top strand. Is this little loop down here is just going to bring itself right up to the bottom. So it should look just a little tiny bit visible, just like that. I could probably make that just a tiny bit tighter. Let's go ahead and do that. You don't want it to cinch up the work, but you just want it to just kind of sit right on the edge. And so since we were pulling here at the top, now we're going to move here to the bottom and start pulling from that side. Keep doing that. And then what you'll see here happening at the top is this little loop is going to come forward, and it's going to sit right on top of that bead. So just like that, and then we'll grab the next one over here at the top. Begin pulling on it. And it's going to get longer with each time. And then here at the bottom, I wanted to show that often they'll try to bring their friends along. So just pull those free from the loop, and then just carry on with pulling that strand through. There you go. Middle ones often move the easiest. And here's another example of bringing a friend. I'm just going to free that one really quick. All right, so keep doing that. Each time you're going to switch pulling directions just based on which one you pulled last. And now at this point, it's going to start getting pretty unwieldy. There's not a whole lot you can do to shorten it just yet. The only other thing, some folks work from the middle, but I think this piece only has 9 warp strands, so it's not going to get too out of control. But if you had a really wide piece, I noticed that some of the strands can get feet long, so you would, in those cases, probably want to go with a center pull, and then you would work from the center out and then from the center back the other direction. In this case, I think it's going to be just good as it is. Just going to take a minute. The pliers really help getting a grip on the thread. Here we go. Oops. There we go. Okay, last one. So that one's free here on this side. Here at the top, we have 1 loop left to pull. That is this edge warp strand. Get a good grip on it and make sure everything up here is free. And then we'll go ahead and pull that one down. It's hugging the mat here. There we go. All right, start to finish. 100%. Got all of that done. Okay, so we've got to do some weaving in. The following instructions work for, I'm going to show you a warp strand first in case you're going to want to do something different than what I just did. Just in case your method is going to be to weave in one of these warp strands. So let me show you a place where I have a free warp strand. So the ones exiting from your beads, so in the case of this one, the one exiting from my bead right here, that's a weft thread. So we'll do that one next, but this one over here is a warp strand. So let's weave that in. It's actually the very first warp we pulled. It's that edge warp. And since it is the strand that runs along here, you don't want to weave it in by going right back to the bead or to loosen that last row. What you want to do is jump over the edge bead and then go into the beads and exit from one that's kind of toward the middle. And that little loop will sit on the side there. And then go ahead and take your needle and go under some of the weft threads. When you do that, it'll make weaving in pretty quick. Go through a bead here and there, and then go under. I usually go under about 3 rows worth of the weft threads. See them? 3 rows is plenty. And I usually repeat it 3 times. So just like that. And then you're free to trim that thread in any way you like. You can use scissors, flush cutters, thread burner. Okay. So that is how to weave in a warp strand, and that's what you would do if you're not doing the pull-in method. You'd have to do that for all of them. It takes a bit, but it's okay. This is again, weft thread. I'm going to leave it in place because it's going to be my button attachment. Down here, I have another weft thread I can show you for weaving in weft. So let's put a needle on that one. There we go. And I'm going to jump over. Look at the edge really closely, and you can see how the thread is exiting from that bead, and you see it's on this side, to the side toward me of the warp, just jump over that warp thread and go through the bead. And when you do that, it'll bring that loop to kind of hug that edge warp, which is just what you're doing when you're looming. And it disappears that strand into your work. At which point you can use our same method to do your weaving in by going under a few of the wefts, going through a few beads in a row, and repeating that 2 more times. So I'm going to do that for the remaining weft strands. So I have this one to go and that one to go. And down here at the bottom, I'm going to have the super long warp strand. Leave that one for now. We're going to use that to put on our button loop. All right, so I'm just bringing down my camera so we can get a really good view of the next steps. So I've got my super, super long warp strand right here. Probably not going to need all of it, but the good news is we have a lot of it, so we're not going to run out. And I'm going to thread a needle onto the end so we can get going with that. And again, it's a warp strand and it's running along the side. You can see it here. So we're going to jump over an edge bead. And then I'm going to needle through the row. And I'm going to bring myself to the center. So I've got 1, 2, 3. And then there's 2 here in the center. And then there's 1, 2, 3 on that side. You just want to be exiting from one of those center ones. And let's bring back some beads. Start with this color. And actually, yeah. Oh, I'm exiting. Yeah, so we'll do that. You could also just jump right into yellow if you wanted, if we're doing the stripies. But I was going to try to simulate a little bit of a stripe for this part that's going to jump out. But start with 1 bead. Go back through the bead you're exiting from the other side. And pull that. And then go through the bead you just added. So you're making a big circle, essentially. 1 more bead. And for this bead, go through the next one. So like that. Go through this one. All right, so now you've got these 2 little jumpies. That is a square stitch. And then reinforce that by going back through the ones that are in the last row and then come up through those. So you should have that. We're going to do that one more time, but let's switch color. Let's add the yellow. And just repeat that one more time. So you're picking up a new bead and you're just looping through the last one. Whatever side your thread's exiting, you want to go through the bead from the other side. And it's going to switch directions every row. But essentially what we've done is that. See, we've gone through like that. And I'm going to hold everything tightly while I pull to tighten. And then we will add 1 more bead. And we'll go back through that bead. And then just reinforce that as well. Okay. All right, so that's giving you a little jump out there. And next thing you want to do is bring your button over. And then we're going to just kind of place it like this. We're going to make a loop that goes all the way around it. And you feel free to use whatever color you'd like. I'm following this convention here. So I'm going to go right to the copper. You can also make a little pattern. But I'm going to just keep stringing copper beads. Here's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's 11. And it's going to be enough to, basically what you want to do is just kind of pinch it, place the button there, and look and see. And so I do think 11 is a good number. So let's look at that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then go ahead and pick up 1 2, 3. You can do this color, you can do other colors. And now pick up 11 more. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And you guessed it, we're going to go back through here. Which makes a circle. And let's reinforce the circle around. And when you get here, if you skip the green bead, which is the center bead right there, it'll make a little pop. See? It'll make it pop out from the other beads, and it'll look like a little point, which is cool and decorative and also optional. And so right here, I've reinforced it around one time, and you can see how that little pop works. Test your button before you go any further. If you want, you can just kind of like pinch this part in your hand so it's nice and tight. And make sure your button is fitting nice and freely. Each time you reinforce, it's going to get tighter. So I'm going to go back and reinforce that 2 more times around. So there it is. And now that you've reinforced it around, continue through those first 2 yellow in the square stitch. It'll start getting pretty tight. So just what I'm going to do is just kind of support it and press my needle up against the wall of the beads. That's another way to get through without having a lot of thickness in that thread. And if you wanted to make this adjustable, meaning you wanted to add another button loop, all you would need to do is go back around here and exit from that green bead. From there, string a yellow, then string 11 of your color, in this case, our color C. And then you would string another yellow, green, yellow, and then another 11 of those main color beads, or this color here. And then you would just loop back through the green bead. And you could add as many of those as you want. And so that would add an extra little adjustable section. And in fact, I feel like I should show that so that you can see it, and it also look really cute. So how that looks is you just go back through. I would still recommend reinforcing it around at least twice before you do this. But this is actually going to end up adding extra reinforcement. And the cool thing is we have the strand, we have the extra thread length that we will need to accomplish this, no problem. So get through that one. And here we are going to go through the green bead for the first time in a while. So pick up the yellow bead, right? 11 of these. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Here's the yellow and the green and the yellow. And here's 11 more of these. Okay. And then you would simply go back through the green bead. So see, now you've got an adjustable loop. And then when I go to reinforce it, I'll skip the green bead again. And oh, and it looks like I forgot to add the yellow bead. Do you see it? Yeah, so that's a mistake. So I want to come back through here and add that yellow bead. That's definitely part of our symmetry there. Now you can see it. Looks really good. So let's reinforce that around. I'm going to go around it 3 times. There it is, all reinforced, and see how it makes that little pop, that point. You could continue that out indefinitely. You could keep going. It's actually a cool design element for like if you're doing a necklace or something. I mean, that would be really cute too. So this is another way you could add length without having to add pattern length. From here, you'll find yourself needing to head back through your work to get to the main body of the piece where we can weave in. And again, remember, when we get back here, it's going to be a little thick, but that's okay, because we're just going to press our needle at the top of the bead. So you're just kind of pressing on the wall of the bead here at the top. Getting it through those yellow beads is where you'll notice it most. Bring that through. Now make a turn through your green beads. Okay. And then a turn into the row. And if you want, you can carry on into a few more beads in that row. I went just shy of the last bead because I'm going to do my weaving in method now. And so from here on, you know what to do. Just go underneath some of these weft threads. On an edge, it can be a little tricky to find them, but you can always, just weave down one row by going out a bead and into the next row. But I like to do it this way if I can, just because it really hides the turns. But essentially there it is. So we're going to need to weave in and then put our button here on the other side. Almost to the end here, and I'm just going to push these beads out of the way, show you that we have our design almost done. You can even do just one extra little button test. Everything should be just as it was. You'll notice for reinforcing makes the button connection tighter. And so you'll notice that first one got a little tighter. If you want to make that 12, you can. But 11 is a snug fit. And it looks like it's working just fine. So over here at this side, we're dealing with a weft thread. So it's exiting from a bead. So we're going to jump over and go through the row here and bring our needle to exit from one of those two center. And this time I'm going to go ahead and pick up 1, 2, 3, 4 of those beads and bring that down. And I'm going to go through the button. And then I'm going to pick up 1, 2, 3 beads and do the other side. And then let's grab 4 more. Okay. And then you can circle back through. So you can do that. Or if you want to have it be more pointy, you can just go through the second bead. So if you're exiting from, you see that one right there, you can go just through the one. And in that case, head back up through all these. So you'll have something like that. And then when you get through this side and back through all 4 of those beads on the other side of the button, when you get there, go through this bead here, go through the opposite side of where that thread was coming out. So you see how it's coming out on that side? You want to go through this side. There we go. My needle just, my thread came out of my needle. So I'm going to stay where I want to be and just bring that back through. There we go. So my reasoning for going through that bead in that direction, see, it tightens it. And now we can just reinforce that. So go ahead and do a reinforcement pass through. And then, as you're going through the second reinforcement pass, just weave in your strand and trim it. And then let's try it on. All right, here it is. It's our little cactus bracelet. It's so cute. And so I'm going to just try it on really quick here. And so I did 11 of these copper rosy colored beads, and it is a little bit of a tight fit with the button, which I actually like, but I just wanted to mention if you felt like you wanted to make it a little less, like, tight, you could go with 12 beads instead of the 11, but this is what 11 looks like. And it puts on nice and securely. So 11 works. You'll just notice, like, when you're putting it on, that you're giving the button a little bit of pressure as you're putting it through, but it's working out really nicely for me. So there is my little cactus thistle bracelet. I can't decide if I feel like it's a cactus or a thistle. What do you think? I like the pattern. It's very retro, isn't it? I like it. So there it is, our beautiful little design. Be on the lookout for some earrings, because I think we need some little cactus earrings. I think a little succulent earring would be in order. So I'm going to design that next. All right. I want to wish you happy beading, and I'll see you for the next one.